FMCG space, and we'll focus on that. And we have a FMCG analyst joining us, and we have Abneesh Roy, the executive director at Nuvama, joining us. Good morning, Abneesh.
Morning.
Yes. So let's talk about Nestle, the top Nifty 50 gainer in trade today, and with the latest news flow of the shareholders denying the raising of the royalty fees. Your views on the same?
Yeah, I think it's clearly a positive development for Nestle India because there will be cost savings potentially. Although it looks like a small number, 15 bips on a yearly basis, it would have increased by 75 bips over 5 years. So it does become a considerable amount over 5 years. So there will be cost savings. Here we need to monitor if there is a revised proposal from the board later. But for now, this is a positive. Now, there could be some questions or some concerns in the minds of investor that post this, will the support from the parent in terms of R&D, new product, innovations, etc., could that suffer because the parent is not getting this extra royalty? In our view, it doesn't work that way. India is easily one of the most important consumer market for any company, and not giving innovations or R&D support or new product, both parent and the subsidiary both will suffer, because India clearly the tipping point in terms of per capita income, the size and scale of the population, it is too large to be ignored. And of course, there is a local R&D unit also in India. So we see that that is not much of a concern. Second is because of strong monsoons expected this year, 6-7% higher than normal, we do see that post Q2, the inflation cooling down in terms of raw material for Nestle, say in terms of sugar, wheat, dairy, etc., because clearly good monsoons will drive more production of sugar, wheat. Crop has also been good this year till now. Plus dairy also, more fodder will be available, so that should also cool down. Already it has cooled down versus YOY, and in summer month always there is some inflation for temporary phase which will get reversed. Coffee and cocoa cost is high, but in our view, Nestle and the other players in coffee and chocolates have decent pricing power. So gradually they will be able to pass on. So overall, we remain quite positive on Nestle. We have a buy with a target price of 3010. One last point will be essentially that FSSAI directives on sugar content in infant food, that remains a monitorable. But in our view, Nestle has very high standards of quality control and process. So I'm sure that they'll be meeting the current regulation, and we expect that regulator will gradually change the parameter for sugar content. So that will be a gradual process for the entire industry. The timelines will be given, and we expect Nestle will easily be able to meet that. So Nestle remains a top-tier performance in consumer space. The Q4 results were also good. But again, now other companies which also have a royalty issue, they will now be more careful, more serious on planning this, because this could become a template that you need to be more measured and really showcase why royalty hike is needed, because 4.5% or 5% for any consumer company, that's not a small number, because a lot of Indian companies don't have royalty issue. So this becomes quite high when there is a competitive intensity, that costing becomes a concern. So good development, but we remain watchful on the board's any revised proposal, if any.
I know that the baby food controversy had to be looked at from a global perspective. That's what the CMD of Nestle told NDTV Profit. But at the end of the day, we focus on Nestle India. And if these FSSA guidelines are proven otherwise, and the sugar content on India baby products were put more in focus, what kind of downside would it have for the company itself?
No, as I said, Nestle follows the local laws very seriously. And currently, if you see sugar content in infant food, there is a law which allows till 20%. So I would say Nestle will be below that. So I don't think that large companies, there will be any issue. Yes, in lot of the developing countries, this is allowed, and that's why there is a sugar content, either because of the local taste or local pricing, etc. So once law changes, then I think the timelines will be given. The good part is Nestle parent already obviously has sugar-free products in Europe, etc. So they can easily meet that requirement if and when it comes. So I don't think there is any big risk of Nestle India not meeting the guidelines. The guidelines do allow, and Nestle will be well below those limits. I would expect that.
Got it, Abneesh. My last question to you, two-part question. One are the higher cocoa prices. Now, key takeaways from the from our Nestle interview would like the company will not be passing on the higher cocoa prices. When do you expect the price? Would there be an uptick in prices, and if so, when? And lastly, what segments would be the growth drivers going forward?
So if you see, even in Q4 results, company saw gross margins expand 374 bips YOY, EBITDA margins expand 93 bips YOY. So obviously, in Q4, company was already facing both the inflation in coffee and cocoa. So it's a very diversified company. It is not a one chocolate company or one coffee company. It's an extremely diversified company. That's one point. Second is some of the raw materials are softer. That is why the company has seen expansion. So milk clearly is softer. On YOY basis, there is a better output, and that's why every dairy company result also, if you see, there is a strong margin expansion. Third, of course, is definitely there is a strong pricing power, right? So we have seen last 3 years when inflation was multi-decade high across raw materials for most of the consumer companies. Every company took very sharp price hike. Now, think of it. Cocoa and coffee, obviously this is used in very premium products like chocolates and coffee, and there is very less competition in these categories versus say soaps, etc. In soaps also price hike was very sharp. So I don't see any issue of pricing not being passed. Companies are gradual in terms of passing on. For example, in cocoa, if the cost has gone up 300-400% in the last 1 year, of course, last 1 month there has been some level of cool off. Companies will not pass it on immediately because it will be then very sharp hike. Second, most companies work on a formulation change also. So when such sharp inflation happens, there is enough R&D available to have another formulation which will also help. So that's why the price hike is not immediate, it is more gradual, because companies also want to understand whether the cocoa cost, which has gone up 3x, 4x, whether it is sustainable. Last 1 month, if you see, again, it has come off also. So that's why you can't be very immediate, you have to be gradual, but ultimately we see that consumer companies pass on entire hike, and then the margin expansion also happens when the raw material cools off, which is happening currently.
Got it. Thank you so much, Abneesh, for joining us and giving us that outlook on Nestle India. Nestle India, which is in focus today as 57% of their shareholding, did